How is your day going? Yeah. Such a pretty fall day here in Winston-Salem. Thank you for letting me come and be with you for a little bit today. And I want to thank all the dancers. Wow, you guys and ladies look very good, very impressive there. Great rhythm and learning a lot about the different cultures. That's a great thing here. And I know you're right in the middle of a mayoral election, going to be electing a mayor for the school. You've already elected them from the classes. And so I got to meet each of the candidates a little bit earlier. And so we've got some really good candidates. So you've got some tough decisions to make coming up, but I know whomever you elect will do a great job for the school. So as was said, I've been mayor since 2001. That's before any of you all were born or even thought about. But I've enjoyed being mayor. You know, when you think about what is a mayor, I know you've talked about that probably, but if you think about it this way, you know, we have the President of the United States, right? The person that's kind of working with the whole country. And then we break down, we know we've got 50 states in America, and each state has a person called a governor. And that governor is kind of in charge of the state and the things that go on there. And then if you think about it, you take the state, and it breaks down even further to cities or towns. And each city or town would have a mayor, and that's a person that's elected by all the citizens of that city to help lead that city forward. I decided to run for mayor because I was concerned that our city wasn't going in the right direction, and we needed to change. We needed to create more jobs. We needed to address poverty. We needed to address homelessness and things of that nature. So I put my name out on the list there and asked folks to vote for me, just like these mayoral candidates are doing here for you. So you think about it a little bit, you know, why do we even need a city government? You think about that. Let's think about that. There's in Winston-Salem, there are 245,000 people who live together. That's a lot of folks, right? So those people living together have to have a lot of services, don't they? So let's say you go home tonight or this afternoon and your bicycle has been stolen from your backyard. Who would you call? 911, and who would come? And the police would come, right? So public safety is a really important thing that city provides. Or if you wake up in the middle of the night and you smell smoke, who do you want to come to your house? Fire department, that's right. We've got about 20 fire stations located all around our city because we have an objective that when you call the fire department, we want to be at your door in 4 minutes. That's our goal. And then once a week, somebody comes to your house and takes something away. Who is that?
Robert.
Not Robert, it's just somebody wants you want to take it away. What? What do you get rid of once a week? How about the trash? We have someone that comes and gets the trash once a week from your house. Just imagine how messy our houses and homes would be if we didn't have some way to get rid of the trash, right? And then we have to take that trash someplace and dispose of it in an appropriate way. We just can't bring it over here and dump it out behind Speas school, can we? We take it to something called a landfill, and we run over it with a big piece of machinery and pack it down, and we put dirt on top of it every day so there's no smell about it, but we get rid of the trash. So cities also make sure that you have plenty of fresh water when you want to get water out of the tap. We also have parks. Any of you go to some of our parks just next door, Polo Park and recreation centers. So city government provides a lot of services to our citizens, right?
Yeah.
So every year we have to pay for all those services. Anybody want to guess how much the city spends a year? How about you? 350? Okay. How about you? At least 3,000. How about this? Each year we spend almost $500 million. It's about $460-some million we spend every year. That's a lot of money, isn't it? Make it 461, comma, 000, comma, 000. That's a big number, isn't it? So where do we get that money to spend? From a bank? No. We get it from a lot of places, but most of it comes from something called property tax. You may have heard your parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles say property tax. Let's say, for instance, you own a house here in Winston-Salem, and it has a value of $100,000. That value, you would have to pay to the city a tax of about $580 a year, thereabouts. And you think about all the houses in the city pay taxes, all the big businesses in the city pay taxes, so all that adds up. We get probably about $90 million a year from taxes like that. But you all also pay taxes. Did you know that? What kind of taxes would that be? When you go to the store and buy a new pair of shoes or a new pair of jeans, you pay for those, but you also pay something called sales tax, right? So it's about 6.5%. The city gets a portion of that that the state gives to us. So we pay sales taxes, property taxes, you pay a fee for the water and sewer that you use, so all that adds up to that $500 million thereabouts. The city, we elect people to represent all parts of our city. If you think about the city as a great big pie, and when you get ready to eat a pie, what do? Cut it into wedges, don't you? Think about the city as that big pie. When you cut it into wedges, those wedges are called something called wards, W-A-R-D-S, wards, and there are 8 of them. And so the citizens elect a person from each one of those wards to represent them. You all have elected a mayor from each one of your classes, right? So we elect a council person from each one of those wards, from the south, the north, the east, the west, and so on. And they represent their part of the city. And then the voters elect a mayor for the whole city. And it's my job to try to make sure we're working together and trying to make sure our city's moving in the right direction. So that's kind of what we're all about. The mayor and the city council are elected for 4-year terms. I was elected in 2001 the first time, then I ran again in 2005, then 2009, then 2013, and 2016, and then if I run again, which I think I am, by the way, I'll run again in 2020. So that's the way we do it. We have to ask the voters to vote for us. And that's the great thing about living in America. It's called democracy. That you get to pick who's going to be your mayor here in Speas. The people who live in Winston-Salem get to pick who they want to be mayor. I have to tell them what I want to try to do. The person who might be running against me would tell them what he or she wants to do. Then the voters get to choose. And that's the beauty of living in America. So that's kind of generally, you want to take some questions? So I bet you've got some great questions on your mind that you'd like to ask me. How about you? Great questions. How did I become mayor? Because you can't just walk down to City Hall and walk into the mayor's office and say, I'm going to be mayor. You can't do that, can you? So we have an election. So we have to, as I said, we let the voters get to pick who they want to be. So during that period of time, I took out ads in the newspaper, I took out ads on the radio, I took out TV ads, I did letters home to everybody who's a voter and said, here is what I want to accomplish. These are the 4 or 5 things I want to accomplish. And then the voters get to look at that and say, that sounds good, I like that idea. So they chose each time. Yes, ma'am. Great question. What's the most favorite thing I like about being mayor? It's coming to meet with schools. I do like coming to meet with school groups, and a lot of times Mr. Jack used to bring some classes down to City Hall, and I enjoy talking with that. But I guess the most favorite thing I like doing is what I call putting together projects. That is, one of my jobs is to try to bring new companies into Winston-Salem so we can create jobs. We've also done some things like built a new baseball stadium. That was a fun project that we worked on. So it's kind of like when you have a goal to do something and you finally get it done, you know, like cleaning your room or wherever it might be, or painting your room. When it's done, you can look at it and say, hey, I did that, and it felt good. So I like doing projects. Yes, sir. If somebody robs another person in town, is it my responsibility? Not directly. But we do hire the police chief and then all the police officers who work for our city. So public safety does come under our responsibility. And my responsibility, I feel like, is to make sure that the police department has all the supplies and training and equipment that they need to carry out the job that to do, and that we're paying them a proper amount. So, right. Yes, ma'am. Question is, do I like being mayor? What do you think? Yes. I like it. It's a lot of fun. People ask me, said, you're getting pretty old, why don't you just retire? Why don't you just, go hike or whatever? But I like getting up every day. I can't wait to get to the office and do what I've got on my calendar for the day. And the fun thing about being mayor is that it changes every day. I might start out with a breakfast meeting with a company, and I get to come talk to a school group. This afternoon I've got a meeting with a developer who's working on a project. So it's fun, and I enjoy it. Yes, sir? The question is, how hard is it to be a mayor? And you all have already been talking a little bit about this, about what leadership skills you might need. And I think the key to me, you all have some great ideas about what's good leader respect and things like that. I think a good leader has to know what's going on in the city, what's going on that could impact the city in a good way or in a negative way, and make sure that we're protecting ourselves. For instance, one of the things I wanted to work on, I was concerned that we had too many homeless people in our city. And so about almost 10 years ago, we created a plan called a 10-year plan to end chronic homelessness. And guess what? In the last 9 years, we've been able to reduce chronic homelessness by over 92%. So we're almost done what we said. So the hard part is getting agreement on doing things, and you do that by listening, you do that by talking, and to try to get people to agree. Most of the time, if you keep talking about an issue, you can find a solution, can't you? Yes, ma'am. How can I help to make your school better? Well, how about a pay increase for the teachers? Here's the interesting, I'm going to sidestep just a little bit. We have a city government and then we have a county government. In Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, we have what's called a consolidated school system. That is, the city and county schools are all in one system. So the city government does not provide support and funds for the school system. But to answer your question, I think my job would be to support education, talk about how important it is as we're trying to recruit new companies. About the second question we get is about the public school system. How good is it? And can we make sure that we're going to get trained workers for our company? So my role would be to be a good advocate and a support for the school system. In fact, I've got a meeting tomorrow afternoon with the superintendent of schools, with the county manager, and with the district attorney, because I've been concerned about the number of folks who run the stop arms on the school buses. There's a new program out that the state legislature has put in place, and they put cameras on these stop arms, and we can issue a citation by just the picture of the car running it. And so we're going to be pursuing that tomorrow. So that's an example of me trying to help push a program through. You all got a hands up over here? Ooh, that's a good question. How can I help our earth? Are we a sustainable school here? Maybe, or try to be? That's all right. Well, here's what I did. Probably it's been almost 12, 13 years ago. I was at a meeting in Washington, and the mayors come together twice a year to meet, and we were at a meeting in D.C., and we were concerned that the president at that time, it was President Bush, was not pushing the federal government hard enough to take care of our earth. And so we as the mayors came together and we signed something called the Mayor's Climate Protection Agreement. If you all talked about global warming and what that might be doing to our earth. So we decided as mayors, we're trying to reduce the amount of carbon that's put into the air from cars, from factories, from power stations and things of that nature. So we as a city government are trying to do our best. We started, if you look at our transit system, we've got hybrid buses now that run off of batteries and diesel. We've gone through all of our city buildings to make sure they're efficient. We changed street lights to make them LED lights. So our role is to reduce as much carbons as we can, set a good example for the rest of the city. Yes, ma'am. What's that? Question is, how many things are easy about being mayor? A lot of them, coming to talk to school groups, I find is easy and fun. We have to do things like cutting ribbons for new facilities. We've got another ribbon. We do a lot of fire stations. We cut ribbons when we build new ones, so that's easy. And just meeting with citizens, sometimes it's fairly easy. Question is, how can I be a mayor? Well, one, I would say study hard, develop some really good reading skills, because you wouldn't believe the amount of paper that comes across my desk every day that I have to read quickly and understand. I would really work on my communication skills, speaking, writing, and being able to speak clearly and write clearly so folks will understand what the point I'm trying to get across. And also just learn how to compromise. Have you heard that term? Compromise. When you want to do something your way, I want to do something my way, but we come together and we figure out a way we can kind of do what both of us want in a way, and that's compromise. Okay, yes ma'am.
Let's take two more questions, okay? Okay, is that all right?
That's a good question. Is what can we do to help people get along, right? Within the city government, we have a human relations department that we created that tries to address issues just like that, from bullying to discrimination and things of that nature. But a lot of times, if we can, my opinion is, if we can get people to come together and talk about issues, they generally will find out that they're not too far apart and agree to do something. Let's see. How about you, right? You're one of the dancers.
Okay, do you travel a lot?
Question is, do I travel a lot? With the job, we do a little bit. We go to Washington a couple times a year. We go to Raleigh a lot, where the state legislature is. And the mayor's conferences are held in different places. And I was very lucky because this last week I was in France for 10 days and got a chance to practice my high school French. Wasn't very good. But thank you all for letting me be with you today.
Boys and girls, how about a big hand for their elders? Here at Speas, we're known as the Speas Bees. And we'd like you to become an honorary member of our organization. And you can wear this hat proudly. Speas Global Elementary School, and that's what we are. How does he look? Another big hand for our mayor, Alan Joyce.